exception handling keywords. So we have a try, catch, finally, throws and throw. So these are the keywords we are using how to handle the exception. So last session we have discussed why exception and what is the exception, what is the difference between error and exception. Go through my notes and previous session recording if you guys did not attend the last session. So but we raised the exception, but how to handle this. So Java people have given some keyword to handle this exception. So in the Java, whether it is a checked exception or unchecked exception, must be handled by using try catch block and must be reported to the JVM using throws keyword to get normal termination of the application. This checked and unchecked means your exception will come in the while doing the compilation and while doing the execution. So then Java people have also developed some keyword. These are the keyword to handle the exception. So how to handle this? So we have to use try catch block by must be reported to JVM. So you can see, if you guys before work on the Selenium, you can automatically the compiler is telling some error. If you will go through this, then it will throw this exception. So by using this throw keywords, so it will report to JVM to get the normal termination of the application. Okay, so exception handling by using try catch block. So this is your syntax of the try catch block, how to handle the exception. This is your exception code. You have developed some logic, and the chance it will raise the exception, then we will keep inside this try and catch. You have to use this catch block. Why we will use? Because some exception will come, then it will catch this. So exception name and reference variable. So code to run if exception is raised. Okay, so exception application with try catch block. So whenever the exception is raised by the try block, JVM won't terminate the program immediately. It will search the corresponding catch block. Okay, what happens if we are using this try block? Then it won't be terminate your program. Okay, what happens when exception is going to raise? If we are not using this try catch, then exception will raise. You will get on the console exception, some exception is coming. But this, if you will use this, then JVM won't be terminate the program immediately. It will search the corresponding catch block. Okay, so if catch block is matched, that will execute and rest of the application executed and program will terminate it or abnormally. Okay, so what happened? So if the corresponding catch block is not matched, then program is what happened? Terminated. So but exception handling independent of the try blocks are not allowed. Only try blocks are not allowed. You have to use the catch. Must declare try catch or try finally and try catch finally. If you will simply use try, then you will get error. So you can use this one. Yeah, you can use try with finally. So finally, what is the finally? I will discuss today. And try catch finally. So three conditions, but we have a lot of the condition inside this exception handling. So but we should know the knowledge regarding as a level of Selenium. If you will go in the development, lot of the thing is there. Okay, so how to perform the customized exception. You have to write the code. You have to generate your exception. So this is your development level. So we will not care about that. Okay, first agenda is getting the job is important. So if exception raised in the try block, then remaining code try block won't be executed. Okay, that once the control come out from the try block, it never enter into the try block again. Okay, so what I want to tell you, so we have a small simple code here. What I am going to tell you in this. So this is one simple code. So what is the meaning of this code? We have this try block and we have this catch block. Okay, now I have here will get exception, right? Definitely will get exception, because if you will define 10 by 0, then here exception will get. In catch block I have again mentioned some this. Okay, and this is your rest of the code. So if I will compile this now, you can see what will happen. Compilation is good, no problem, but we are getting here 5 and rest of the app. It won't be get executed. Try. It won't be get executed. Why? Because here the code is terminated, right? The code is terminated. This catch block is going to execute. Understood? The exception raised in this line. This line will a skipper, and this exception will handle here, and this catch block and others execution is going to execute. If you will write this here inside, then see what will happen. Okay. So now we are getting this arithmetic exception. Okay, so this exception, I know that the block which is might be the chance to will throw the exception, we will keep inside this try block. Okay, if you are not using this try block, then what happen? We are getting the exception. If I will write inside this, the exception will raise here, then what happen? Catch block and apart from this all will execute. Okay, so this is the one example. We have another example. So mostly they can ask what is the try catch block, how to handle the try catch block. Okay, what is the finally block. So whatever the notes I have for exception handling, it will cover all your interview questions. Okay, so now we have this example. So you can see in this example we have a try block. Here I took n1 30 and n2 0, and in output I am just dividing this n1 by 2, the result output. Okay, so what happened, like same example I am repeating this only. So where the exception will raise 30 by 0, then what happened? Exception will raise, right? Then if I will compile this, then it will catch inside this catch block and it will execute. That's it. You should not divide a number of zeros. So here the code is terminated, then after that the catch block is going to execute. Okay, so how you can handle this exception? So we have another code, this simple how to perform this and how to use this, all this keyword inside this. Okay, so now so you can see we have this code and we have already seen, right? So inside this one array is there. Array has only 10 elements and I am going to store one more elements. Then we will throw array inward or out of exception. So in the array we had already seen, right? So how to handle this? So you can see which type of we have used this array index outer bound exception. I told you array throwable is a super class. We have a child class, exception and error. Inside this exception we have a multiple sub class like that. All your exception is a class only. Okay, so if you will go inside this JVM, so lot of the thing will happen. Okay, so how to handle this we are learning. Where we are missing this block, this block, this block, but we are missing class block. So array index auto bound exception. Okay, so this is how to handle this. So we have another example of try catch. So why we are using this try catch, I think you will get some idea about this. So in the real time, if you are working in this, so the people are using frequently this try catch. Okay, so same thing, you can see we have here I have used to catch block. So here we will learn one more thing. So here we will get arithmetic type exception, and here we will get null pointer exception, and just we are finding the length of this string. So we have written inside this, but we have written to catch block, and just we have printing this. So what will happen if it will execute, which catch block will be execute? Yeah, both catch block will be execute. Let's change that. I will execute this. So catch 1 and rest of the program. So what happened here? This line number 6 is going to execute, then exception raised here, then this catch block is going to execute. Okay, now if I have commented that line, you can see now catch 2 and rest of the program is going to execute. So whatever the exception raised first, that catch block will be execute. That's it. We have a finally block. So this is the important, and one question is there, what is the difference between final, finalize and finally? Okay, so final is a modifier. So final modifier which is used for as a 3 level. One is your variable, one is your method, one is your class. If variable is a final, you cannot change the value. If class is a final, you cannot perform the inheritance, you cannot extend this. If method is a final, you cannot override. So this is the small story of final. Finalize is a method which is present inside this java.lang package. It comes inside under object class. So by using this finalize method, we can clean up the garbage collector. What is the meaning of the garbage collector? Useless, if you are running your application, and the useless object and useless code will become the garbage collector. But in every class we have an object class, so by default inside this object class we have a inbuilt method that is called finalize method. So by using this finalize method, if you will call any class, then object class will execute, object class will execute, all method of object class will be execute, right? So finalize is inside under, then what happened, it will clean up the garbage collector. And now we are learning finally block. So finally block, 3 keyword is there, and 3 keyword coming from the 3 concept, 3 topics. One is coming from simple modifier, one is coming from object class, and one is coming from exception handling. So finally block also execute irrespective or try catch. Okay, so if you want to execute some mandatory code, so where you will use finally block? If you want to execute, whatever the exception is coming, that is fine, but I want to execute this code. Okay, so at that condition we will use, after exception causing a statement, whether it is caught or not, we will place that mandatory code is in finally block. If exception raised in try block, then JVM will search the corresponding catch block. If the corresponding catch block is matched, then catch block executed, then finally block executed. So I have written the condition regarding this just finally, but we'll see in the codes and it will get all the theory clear. If the corresponding catch block is not matched, then program terminated abnormally, but before abnormal termination finally block will be executed. So finally block will be executed in the any condition. That's why this is the finally. So we have a one interview question. Is there any case that the finally block won't be executed? Okay, the people knows the finally block will always execute, but any case is there the finally block won't be execute? Yes. So whenever we are there are two conditions won't be execute. First condition, whenever we are giving the chance to enter the try block, then finally block will execute, otherwise it won't be execute. So what I want to tell you in this code, this question is asked by the Bosch interview question in Bosch company. In which condition finally block won't be execute? This is your Bosch interview question. Automation testing profile, 3 to 4 year experience. Okay, so here we have this I have raised here, I already given you, but in this case what will happen? In this case it will terminate the code here. If that terminate the code here, then what happen? This finally block won't be executed. Let's see. Okay, arithmetic exception. So in this condition this finally block won't be executed. Why it is not going to execute? Only finally you cannot use, right? You have to use try with finally or catch with finally. Okay, so what happened? The code of termination is here, then this is not going to execute. So in this condition finally block won't be executed. Okay, so now we have this. Okay, so now I'm going to execute. Okay, so now you can see this finally block is going to execute. I'm not going to catch here. I did not use this catch. Exception is going to raise, but finally block is going to execute. Okay, if you will not use this finally block, then again what happened? We will get error. Exception is going to execute because I did not use catch block. So in this condition, if you are writing your exception expecting code outside the try block and you are using this finally block, then finally block won't be executed. This is condition. Okay, we will terminate JVM in try block, then finally block won't be executed. So one more condition is there, and mostly so you guys, so whatever the topic and whatever the notes is there, that is enough for cracking the interview. And you can also understand the code if your existing code is there and they have used this exception and all. So in this condition also finally block won't be executed. So we have a system is a class, inside that we have a method called exit. So it will terminate your code here. This line of the code means it will terminate this code here. Inside try catch I have terminated the line number of 7. Then in this condition this finally block is not executed. So this example have a multiple choice question, so they have given this code. Okay, so we have to remember this system.exit, we are passing this 0. So in this condition it won't be executed. Mostly time in the multiple choice they have written this one, okay, in the option. If I will compile this, okay, so now we are getting this. Okay, we are not finally block won't be executed, right? You can see. So in this two condition finally block won't be executed. We have a throw keyword. So throws keyword, what is the meaning of throws keyword? So this is also the interview question. What is the difference between throws and throw keyword? So throws keyword is used to report raise the exception to the caller. Who is the caller? JVM is your caller. That's it. It is mandatory for check exception for reporting if there are not handled. Okay, so we use throw keyword to at a method declaration level, right? So we in last session I already shown you, right? if you are, in the Selenium, lot of the exception is coming when you are writing the code, right? So this keyword is throws, some method is there, sorry, main method is there, you can see this exception is throw. So it will handle it will, throws keyword will raise the exception and how to, handle with the JVM. Okay, it is possible to throws report any number of exception at the time based on the programming requirement. So you can handle any number of exception by using this throws. If the method throws and report the exception, then JVM is responsible to handle that exception. Okay, so it will throws that, throws keyword throwing this exception, then who will going to handle? It is going to interact with the JVM. Throws keyword is going to interact with the JVM, whatever the exception will handle. So by using this throws keyword, we can handle this exception. So what is the meaning of throw? The main purpose of throw keyword is to create exception object explicitly for predefined and user defined exception. So simply you have to remember throws keyword, this throw keyword means we are handling this exception. When we are writing in the Selenium in the code, I will show you also Selenium this example throws. So some suggestion is coming. If you will go through the cursor, then automatically it will throw the exception, this throws keyword. Then it will, interact with the JVM and handle the exception. But this throw keyword, I told you now, some requirement is there. You have to create a exception object that is called customize exception. Means you have to generate the exception. At that place we will use this throw keyword explicitly, or your predefined or user defined. Okay, so your Java is